Grand Rising, Grand Rising, Grand Rising, Curvies. I know this is an impromptu thing. I know I might not be in the graces of the algorithm, but I have been meaning to show this to you guys all week, and I have a meeting at 9, so I thought that we'd have just enough time for me to show my Curvies what I've been saying all along. Kamala's not black. She's not black. She just turned black. Unfortunately, 45 seems to have been right. Candace Owens, as up on our screen, she did a deep dive, episode 70 through 96, the origin and all that stuff, right? And I'm still trying to figure out, why did she blackify herself? I like the word Candace Owens came up with, called blackify. Blackify. She's just blackifying herself. And it lends itself to the theory that perhaps, if you have communist parents that infiltrate a civil rights movement, that you might just feel entitled to call yourself black, because the infiltration is so deep. I'm suggesting everybody just goes over to Candace Owens and sees the full video. But what we're going to look at this morning is Kamala Harris on Club Shay admit that she doesn't have any black relatives. Not by blood. They're not her relatives. Kamala Harris admitted it finally. And I've been following the series over on Candace Owens, and we were saying that, oh, well, how is Kamala Harris going to explain this away? Watch her say something like, oh, she was like a mother to me. Oh, she was like a grandmother to me. And sure enough, instead of just say that she lied and was blackfishing for whatever reason, she's going to give us this mouthful of jargon right now. So shout out to Candace Owens, copyright on this video and the stuff that we see today. Let me see, where's my copyright thing at? Hope you guys are fabulous. I hope you guys already voted. I voted, and I didn't vote for anybody who's participating in genocide or anybody who's sending my reparations to foreign governments. Nope, sure didn't. You guys might have a clue who I voted for just based off of saying that. But yeah, I'm not with the duopoly. But listen, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, and personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So let's get started, because like I said, I only got about 20 minutes, and that's about how long it's going to take us to unravel her word salad in her admitting that she's not black. Let's listen.
To go on a black podcast, I've gone on it, but it's because of people.
I don't know. How you know who I'm talking about?
And the next thing you know, they're trying to drum up some conspiracy about me, like trying to blackify myself, as if I have to do that. Spoiler alert, I'm already trust her in all of these lies, and nobody keeps that same energy. Like, what kind of blackness are they actually guarding? Is it blackness, or is it just a Democratic Party? That's what I'm beginning to wonder. So I want to show you, when I got fired earlier this year from the Daily Wire, there were so many black hosts who were just like dancing on my grave, like thinking that I wouldn't be successful ever again, and making up all of these conspiracy theories. And one of them was that I somehow knew I was leaving the Daily Wire. I didn't. And that was the reason I had just done Joe Budden's podcast. Like, Joe Budden randomly shouted me out on his podcast. I instantly responded, and he had me on. There was no move there. There was nothing being planned. And then the same thing with the Breakfast Club. Like, I would have loved to do that show for years. They never invited me. They just happened to invite me after I did the Joe Budden podcast. So I did 2 in a row, and then I leave the Daily Wire, and the next thing you know, they're trying to drum up some conspiracy about me, like trying to blackify myself, as if I have to do that. Spoiler alert, I'm already black. I've been black every single day of my life. I have not even taken a 10-minute recess. I have not been like, let me just chill for like 5 minutes and not be black for a second. So it's so ridiculous and never warrants a response. But it does today, because I wanted you to compare and contrast Shay's attitude when he addresses blackness when speaking about an actual black person, and then when speaking to a person who's just wearing blackface. So here he is. Let's jog your memories about what Shannon Sharpe had to say about me following my exit from the Daily Wire. Take a listen.
Sometimes, and it's happened before, people in our community forget that they're black. And they try to appease a group of people that's probably never going to embrace them. And once they realize that, guess who's the first group to take them back?
I don't know her.
You know, I ain't say nobody's name, Amanda.
We don't know her.
You don't even know who I'm talking about.
I don't know.
How you know who I'm talking about? But we've seen this happen before. Rest his soul, O.J. Simpson. You know, he had the famous quote, "I'm O.J., I ain't black." Even Michael Jackson went through what he went through, rest his soul.
Right.
Even Kanye had to be reminded. And now Miss Owens, who, I don't want no black pilots, I don't want this, I don't want that. And now we can't keep off our black media station. When before she gave us her butt to kiss. Now,
sorry about that.
Sharpe, and by honorably, I don't actually mean
there. Now
honorably,
you guys can see it. My
because
bad.
I'm just so sick and tired of this weird double standard that seems to exist in black media, where they really throughout my entire career have rejected me, not wanting to have me on. She's not black. Candace ain't black. But then suddenly you have a candidate, a presidential candidate, who quite literally put on political blackface. We bust her in all of these lies. And nobody keeps that same energy. Like, what kind of blackness are they actually guarding? Is it blackness or is it just the Democratic Party? That's what I'm beginning to wonder. So I want to show you. When I got fired earlier this year from the Daily Wire, there were so many black hosts who were just like dancing on my grave, like thinking that I wouldn't be successful ever again, and making up all of these conspiracy theories. And one of them was that I somehow knew I was leaving the Daily Wire. I didn't. And that was the reason I had just done Joe Budden's podcast. Like, Joe Budden randomly shouted me out on his podcast. I instantly responded and he had me on. There was no move there. There was nothing being planned. And then the same thing with the Breakfast Club. Like, I would have loved to do that show for years and never invited me. They just happened to invite me after I did the Joe Budden podcast. So I did 2 in a row, and then I leave the Daily Wire, and the next thing you know, they're trying to drum up some conspiracy about me, like trying to blackify myself, as if I have to do that. Spoiler alert, I'm already black. I've been black every single day of my life. I have not even taken a 10-minute recess. I have not been like, let me just chill for like 5 minutes and not be black for a second. So it's so ridiculous and never warrants a response. But it does today, because I wanted you to compare and contrast Shay's attitude when he addresses blackness, when speaking about an actual black person, and then when speaking to a person who's just wearing blackface. So here he is. Let's jog your memories about what Shannon Sharpe had to say about me following my exit from the Daily Wire. Take a listen.
I agree that what Candace just said, there is people that check way harder on bona fide black people than on these questionable black people. And I'm not with it. And I would think that Amanda Seales, who I love, by the way, particularly would have had more grace with a Candace Owens. But now in retrospect, she might in the future have more grace, because she just basically got Candace Owens herself.
Sometimes, and it's happened before, people in our community forget that they're black. And they try to appease a group of people that's probably never going to embrace them. And once they realize that, guess who's the first group to take them back?
I don't know her.
You know, I ain't say nobody's name, Amanda.
We don't know her.
You don't even know who I'm talking about.
I don't know.
How you know who I'm talking about? But we've seen this happen before. Rest his soul, O.J. Simpson. You know, he had the famous quote, "I'm O.J., I ain't black." Even Michael Jackson went through what he went through, rest his soul.
Right.
Even Kanye had to be reminded. And now Miss Owens, who, I don't want no black pilots, I don't want this, I don't want that. And now we can't keep off our black media station. When before she gave us her butt to kiss. Now, if I'm lying, if I'm speaking out of turn, people, y'all correct me. But y'all know I'm telling the truth.
Well, you're about to get corrected.
No, you are literally not telling the truth. Nothing you are saying.
Of course, I'm going to get a buffer. So while that's buffering, I don't think he's telling the truth either, you guys. And I'm not with all this pitting bona fide Black people against bona fide Black people on behalf of an imposter. Let's see if this won't play. I don't know what's going on. Everything's on. But what did you think of that comment right there?
She's Irish, Syrian, Jewish, and Indian. That is her correct genealogy. And so he has an opportunity to be the hero so the entire community, the Black community, is up in arms, recognizing that she literally plagiarized her grandparents to pretend that she was Black, when in fact she's Irish, Syrian, Jewish, and Indian. That is her correct genealogy. And so he has an opportunity to be the hero, since you are the person that is deciding who is and is not Black, and when they're allowed to be Black, and how they're.
Can I just say that the next time we let a Black man tell Black women or chastise Black women for their level of Blackness, can he have on some pants that fit and that aren't leggings?
Allowed to be Black, and the reason that they're acting Black, whatever you're saying there, which makes absolutely no sense, you would think he would have taken the opportunity to address Kamala Harris's genealogy, her ancestry, who actually in your family is Black. Instead, he gives her a platform. Listen to Kamala Harris here, because like I said, she's kind of doing the slow wipe here, trying to pretend like she never said she was Black, never said she was African American, and she provides an excuse for how she's not really Black, but is Black on the basis of her mother's definition of community. I know that sounds crazy because it is. Take a listen.
My mother, she understood that there is a community that she wanted her children to be raised in. Mm-hmm. And she was very intentional and purposeful about that. And so I always say to people, even when
Let me just offer that if you do read her book of lies, called The Truths We Tell, where she inserted photoshopped Black pictures of dark-skinned Black women that are now being found out to be the help. And she said the woman was her grandmother, but that lady couldn't have possibly been her grandmother because she died 4 years prior. And in that book, and which is the reason that I've always personally stood by saying that she's not Black, as in Kamala Harris doesn't identify as Black, is because in her own autobiography called The Truths We Tell, she said that when her mother decided to raise her in Oakland, she selected Oakland because she knew that her children would be seen as Black. So if you're only seen as something, she didn't say because we're Black. She said because we'd be seen as Black. And as an anchor baby in America, Kamala's mother would have picked a community that would be sympathetic to her melanin as an immigrant, as a communist immigrant in this country. So, of course, Black people, we're very loving. We love everybody. We let you all in our communities because we're not like that. We're not like that. So, of course, she was accepted in our community with open arms. And listen to what Kamala says here very carefully. She's not saying I'm Black, but she is backpedaling and pussy popping, moonwalking all over her Blackness right now. Listen really close. I'm going to rewind it and then we're going to get out of here. Let's listen really close. Let me even put the captions on so you guys can read what she's saying. Is very important.
African American, and she provides an excuse for how she's not really Black, but is Black on the basis of her mother's definition of community. I know that sounds crazy because it is. Take a listen.
My mother, she understood that there is a community that she wanted her children to be raised in. Mm-hmm. And she was very intentional and purposeful about that. And so I always say to people, even when I took the stage as the nominee for the Democratic nomination, that
you're installed,
there is
lady.
the family
You
that
weren't
you have
nominated.
by birth,
Okay.
And there is also the family you have by love.
Okay, I was talking.
And they're equally family.
African American, and she provides an excuse for how she's not really Black, but is Black on the basis of her mother's definition of community. I know that sounds crazy because it is. Take a listen.
My mother, she understood that there is a community that she wanted her children to be raised in. And she was very intentional and purposeful about that. And so I always say to people, even when I took the stage as the nominee for the Democratic nomination, that, you know, there is the family that you have by birth.
Okay.
And there is also the family you have by love.
No.
And they're equally family.
Yes.
Right?
No.
And I learned that from my mother.
No.
So my mother, I had all these aunties and uncles. My Uncle Sherman, who was one of the first Black men to graduate from Berkeley School of Law, who, when we were young.
So did you see how she had to insert Black into Uncle Sherman as to why she thinks she's Black? Now listen, you guys, this woman wants to be president of the United States of America, has communist parents who infiltrated the civil rights movement. She's an anchor baby because her parents were not citizens. They were immigrants and they had her here. So that makes her a citizen and that makes her an anchor baby for them. Raised her so she could perceive herself as Black. This sounds like some MK Ultra mindfuck shit, which her mother also was part of the MK Ultra experience in Canada, which is where her mom bought the house that she's always bragging on when she was in high school. Kamala left Oakland, I believe, at age 5. How was she going to the Baptist church, growing up in the Baptist church in Oakland on 23rd, if she was in Canada from age 5 to age 17 and beyond? Why is it that nobody gives a fuck about this? You guys care more about where Donald Trump puts his dick than where Kamala's DNA comes from. That's so weird. That's so weird. Everybody knows men are going to lie on their dick. But who lies on their whole ancestry? Who blackfishes their ancestry? And then the question is why? Because nobody really wants to get treated Black. I mean, we're hella cool and everything, but nobody really wants to get treated Black. So why was it so important for her to Blackify herself in our eyes? And now she has to do this word salad to try to explain to us that in the Black community, we call everybody cousin and auntie and uncle. So she, because her mother put her in that community and was very plotted, her mother had a plot to infiltrate the Black community and have her daughters believe that they were Black, I guess. So she raised them around Black people and let her call them cousins. But her mother also came from 1,000-year-old bloodline at the top of the caste system from her country, India, where she's from, you guys. So does it match that? And you know how the caste system is. You can't remain at the top of the caste system unless you continue to keep your blood pure and marry within that line. So I don't believe that Donald Harris's Jamaican heritage made him Black. He was Hindu and Irish, like he said. And this word salad that we're about to get is further proof. Listen, you guys.
Young girls sat us down and taught us how to play chess because Uncle Sherman had all these aunties and uncles. My Uncle Sherman, who was one of the first Black men to graduate from Berkeley School of Law, who, when we were young girls, sat us down and taught us how to play chess because Uncle Sherman said, you need to understand how the chessboard works because that's the way the world works. There are going to be different players with different moves, and you need to see the whole board. My mother raised us around, like my Auntie Chris, who went to Howard in the 50s and pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha And she was one of my incredible role models growing up. And that was one of the big reasons I wanted to go to Howard University and pledge Alpha Kappa Alpha. Those are some of the lessons that I've learned from my mother. And I try to also share with people.
I mean, just look at him. How does that not register to Black America as an absolute fraud? Like, where is that same energy? He's like, yeah, that makes total sense. When, you know, and it's not your family, but it is your family. He's like, yeah. Yeah, just lapping it up and accepting whatever she says. Why? Because he doesn't have an original thought in his brain, and it's been mandated to him that the definition of Blackness is basically enslaving yourself to the Democratic Party, even when you have someone who is quite literally wearing blackface. And for clarity, in case you are just jumping into this series, every single person that she just named there, her auntie Chris, her uncle Fred, her aunt whatever, Shelly, none of those are her actual aunts and uncles. She admitted that in her book, if you read the fine print, that they weren't her actual aunts and uncles. But that's her experience with the Black community. And she's essentially saying to Shannon Sharpe, yeah, I'm going to keep blackfacing this because my mom told me it's cool. And these are my aunties and these are my uncles. And that's that. That's just how family works, except that's literally not how family works. And so I just want to say, Shannon Sharpe, if you're watching this, and I'm sure someone will cut it so you can see it, you're a disgrace for that. You really are a disgrace for your treatment of somebody who's actually Black when weighed against your treatment of somebody who has been wearing political blackface simply because she wants votes from people that she perceives as stupid. And by the way, you are playing the part there, Shannon Sharpe, of being an idiot. Yeah. Oh, I was talking about Candace Owens. By the way, shout out to the people when he was disrespecting me. If you go to those comments, him and the woman he's sitting across from, everybody came down on him and were just like, no. Just because she does not agree and go with the crowd, you don't get to disrespect her and say that she's somehow putting on, like I don't speak to Black people. Absolutely ridiculous. But I had to vent about that because when I saw that clip, I was like, I know he's not really out here doing that. And yes, he actually is. So Club Shay, you are Club Nay in my book. You absolutely
she comes through with some of them.
But I will say to you, because I'm always open to having a conversation, I will have a conversation with you. You've never invited me. How could a person who never invited me onto their show make that statement?
Okay, so I'm gonna let her continue talking. You guys can see the print right there. But like I said, I'm gonna get off here in a couple minutes. I just wanted to show you guys the people who haven't voted, or even if you did vote already for this lady who played in your face. How do you feel about it now that she just admitted that it was all semantics, that she's not Black at all? Donald Trump was right. She's playing in our faces. Why would you let her use what they've oppressed you with to catapult her? They've oppressed us for Blackness, but then this communist raised MK Ultra lady is going to come tell us what's Black without any foundational Black experience, make a career of locking up Black people. Allegedly, she was paid off by the cartel, which is why she decided to lock up 1,500 brown and Black men for lower level drug crimes, because she was really protecting her cartel bosses, her and Willie Brown, who allegedly had his whole freaking law degree paid for by the cartel. Go back and look. I'm going to show it to you real quick. Let me show you which episode to go to. Let's go back here real quick because I got 2 more minutes. Okay, see if they didn't take down the video yet, because she had an interview. Oh, is it gone? Where's the guy? She just did an interview. I'm pretty sure it was oh, here it is. Bam. I'm just going to show you guys this video really quick.
With that cycle, I need you to make a 10-minute no obligation call.
But the first thing, but the first thing, you gotta understand that the Collin clan, they were like clerks, judges, spies for the British when India was a British colony. And Miss Kamala was born when it was still a British colony. So the rest of the country was up in arms fighting against the British, but they were very, very loyal to the British intelligence service and police service in India. So this is how they all got ahead, by catering to the British. And that enabled Shay Kamala, when she was, after she got her degree in Madras, India, to enter UC Berkeley, which is not the cheapest school in the universe. Northern California is a really inexpensive place to go. It's one of the most expensive places. I know. I went to school there. It's very expensive there. She worked at the monkey lab there. She was into it's a real strange combination of psychology and simian studies and zoology. Okay, and she was an expert, training monkeys. He was a famous one, and everyone thinks MK Ultra was basically American technique. No, it came out of London. It came out of the Tavistock Institute of Sigmund Freud.
Yes.
World War II.
I am just so shocked that you are bringing this up, because I got into a lot of trouble with the media for discussing Sigmund Freud at length, and I've been doing it on this podcast. It's super important for people to learn the truth about him, that he was a person who created a method of psychology essentially to gaslight people who were in fact being molested by their own parents, and that's why he was obsessed with children and sex. And it's shocking that we learned that he's a hero in psychology. And it's just very important for people to learn the truth about him, because psychology is then, his family is then what bred.
Except me. I worked at the Pacific News Service, and I broke these stories, but even they were scared to take on the cartel.
Very interesting. And, I did recently speak to
a major paper in Japan. So I took up, and I didn't hear about his death from my friends, because they were so tied up with it. And it was only much later that I heard that Jeff. I said, "What happened to Jeff?" And he says, "Oh, didn't you hear? He died." And then
what is it?
It was funny, shock to me, and there was nothing I could do it at the beginning, so it took me a long.
Okay, you guys. So I just wanted to show you this tape. Also, go back and look at episode 92, and you'll hear this gentleman used to work with with Kamala's mother, knew Kamala personally. And he's the one that says that Willie Brown's law degree was paid for by the cartel, that Willie Brown and Kamala Harris were both cartel sympathizers and would go hard on the locals, black and brown boys, in order to look like they were doing something to fight the drugs. But really, they were just protecting their cartel handlers. Anyway, this is all alleged for entertainment purposes over here, but I'm showing you the source of where I got my information. You guys, I hope you guys like this video real quick that we did. I'm so glad we had this time together. Smash the buttons. I'll see you in the next video. Ring the bell, because I'm going to go live later, and you need to know when I pop on.